The village of Eldermere lay bathed in the soft glow of the full moon, its cobblestone streets quiet beneath the silver light. Nestled between rolling hills and a vast, glimmering lake, it was a place untouched by time or sanctuary, where memories lingered like the scent of lavender in the evening air. Eleanor Whitmore stood at the water's edge, her breath slow and steady, her gaze fixed on the lake stretching endlessly before her. It had been 10 years since she last stood in this very spot, 10 years since she had turned her back on the life she once knew. Yet nothing had changed. The pines still lined the shore, their dark silhouettes swaying gently in the night breeze. The wooden dock, worn and weathered, still extended into the water, just as it had when she was a child. Even the air smelled the samer mix of pine, damp earth, and something familiar. Something that felt like home. And yet, everything had changed. She had changed. In the years since she had left Eldermere, Eleanor had built a life for herself in the city. She had chased ambitions that once felt like distant stars, had worked tirelessly in offices filled with the hum of ringing phones and hurried footsteps. She had surrounded herself with people, yet felt an ache of loneliness she could never quite shake. There, amidst the towering buildings and the endless rush of time, she had convinced herself she no longer belonged to the quiet village by the lake. But now, standing beneath the moonlit sky, she wasn't so sure. A soft rustling in the trees behind her made Eleanor turn. She wasn't alone. A figure stood at the edge of the dock, gazing out over the water. The wind stirred his dark hair, his hands tucked into the pockets of a worn jacket. He looked older now, but she would have recognized him anywhere. Samuel Carter. For a moment, Eleanor simply stared. 1,000 memories rushing to the surface. The boy she had once known was still there, beneath the years that had passed, the same thoughtful expression, the same quiet presence that had always made her feel understood, even when words failed her. She hesitated, then took a step forward. The wooden planks creaked beneath her feet as she walked onto the dock, the distance between them shrinking with each careful step. Samuel turned at the sound, his eyes meeting hers. "You came back." His voice was soft, carrying the weight of something unspoken. Eleanor swallowed. "I did." A moment of silence passed between them, filled only by the gentle lapping of water against the dock. "I wasn't sure I ever would," she admitted. Samuel studied her, his expression unreadable. "But you did." She let out a quiet laugh, shaking her head. "I don't even know why." "Maybe you do," he said. "You just haven't admitted it yet." Eleanor looked away, back at the lake, at the way the moonlight danced upon its surface. She had spent so many nights here beside Samuel, talking about dreams and the future. She had always been the one who wanted to leave, to see the world beyond the hills and the quiet streets of Eldermere. And Samuel had always stayed. "Do you ever wonder what it would have been like?" she asked suddenly. "If I had stayed?" He was quiet for a moment before answering. "Sometimes." Eleanor exhaled slowly. "I think about it too." More than she wanted to admit. She had spent years chasing something: success, independence, a life she thought she was meant to have. But the city had never given her the peace she had felt here. It had never filled the quiet ache inside her. "I was afraid that if I stayed, I would regret it," she said. "But now I wonder if I regret leaving more." Samuel turned fully toward her then, his gaze steady. "It's not too late, you know." A lump formed in her throat. "Isn't it?" He shook his head. "Time doesn't take everything away. Some things, some places, some people are still here, waiting." Eleanor looked at him, really looked at him. The boy she had once known had become a man, but he was still Samuel, still the same person who had once known her better than anyone. A breeze swept across the lake, sending ripples across the water. The night felt endless, suspended between past and present, between all the choices made and those still waiting to be decided. She could leave again. She could return to the life she had built, to the city that had never truly felt like home. Or she could stay. For the first time in years, Eleanor didn't feel lost. She felt found. Beneath the moonlit sky, she took a deep breath and stepped forward.